Hey there, welcome back to the channel. It has been a while since I did some training videos on the simple stores concept, but this video is more about the cPanel or control panel interface. So let's have a look at that, and I'll show you some of the features that you can do with control panel. So to get to the control panel, at the end of your domain name, you're going to type in /cPanel and hit enter. Eventually you'll get to this login screen, and you should have these login details that would have been sent to you by your host. If I'm not your host, if I am your host and you don't have them, just give me a message and I'll send that stuff right through to you. So log in with the details that you've been provided with, and what you'll see will be something like this. So what are we looking at here? Now, cPanel is kind of like an operating system for your web server. It's sort of like Windows or Mac OS in that it gives you access to a whole lot of other software that you can use to achieve different things or to do different stuff. So let's have a brief look at what we can actually do here. So up at the top here, you have a file manager, and if I click in here, file manager is opening up a new app. And this app will show me all of the files and folders that exist on my web server. The most important one is the public_HTML folder, and that is where your website actually lives. So if you look at the root of that, this is the index file that WordPress would be using to display the web page on the browser screen. So all of these files are here. Now, it's very important to note that if you mess this up, or if you delete something, you could render your website entirely useless. So this is kind of really only for an advanced user to get to. But basically what you're seeing here is the structure of WordPress. So for instance, all the WordPress admin files and all the programs that make WordPress work are all in there. And if you have a look under WordPress content, you'll see here you have the plugins. So these are the different plugins that I have installed so far on this dummy website. There's the Yoko payment gateway, there's WooCommerce, etc., etc. So there's a whole bunch of them. There's also a folder for your different themes. So if you ever get to the point where you start making child themes and doing your own stuff, that's where you would put them. There's a folder here for uploads. So anything that gets uploaded to WordPress will be stored in a folder here. So you'll see that there's a folder for every month, and if you have uploaded anything in that month, it will appear in that folder. So this one is all empty, but if I go back to 2020, which is when I started this project, there are the folders, or there are the files within that folder of all the stuff that I did or uploaded at that time. So that's the file manager. What else can we do with control panel? We can also set up email accounts. So for instance, if I wanted to create an email account on my domain name, I would go here, click on email accounts, and it would give me a list of all of the existing accounts. At the moment, there are nothing in here. You will see that there is a default account, and this happens with every single cPanel based website. So you should have a default account, and this will explain a little bit more about that. But if I wanted to now create a new email account for this specific domain name, all I do here is click on create, and it asks me what that email needs to be. So it will be something at simplestores.co.za. So if I typed in sales, I could do that. And I have the option here now of setting that password by typing it in there, or sending a system generated password to my email address on another domain name. So if I was to say send it to myself, oops, I need to spell my name correctly, gmail.com, and I click on create, the system will now send me the login details for that. When you see this over here, just click on never, because the browser gets confused. It thinks that you want to actually save that password in, but it's not in the right place, so ignore that. So there you go. You now see that I have sales@simplestores.co.za as a functional email address. I can check that email from here. I can manage this account, and I can connect different devices to that account, or connect that account to different devices. So let's have a look and see what happens when we click here. So if I click check email, it now opens up a new program, and I have a couple of options here where I can look at my email. I see Roundcube is no longer available. Oh, hang on, there we go. It's up at the top now. So if I wanted to look at the email in Roundcube, I can open it there, or I can use Horde, which is another web-based application. So that's really all that is. I'm not going to go into that right now. So I'm just going to close that, and let's go back to the cPanel grid and show you some other funky stuff that you can do here. So let's just say you have set up an email account here, and you don't have this email. You couldn't be bothered setting it up in your phone or anything like that. What you could do is you could actually forward all the email that gets sent to that one to your Gmail account, for example. So to do that, all you need to do is go in here, click on Add Forwarder, and the address that you want to forward to, so it would be sales at simplestores.co.za, where we're going to forward that to, and I'll say at gmail.com. Okay, and I can add that forwarder in there. So now all emails sent to sales at simplestore will be copied to dallastorms@gmail.com. Go back. And if I don't want that anymore, I can just go back in here and click on delete. Alright, so going back now into the cPanel, you'll see that there are a whole lot of different things you can do here with the email options. I'm not going to go into too much detail about all of that stuff. One of the important things that you may want to take note of is the Acronis backup system. So what this does is, if you happen to delete any files in your system or you happen to break your website irrevocably, you can go into Acronis backup. Acronis, I don't know what it's called or how you pronounce it. You go in there, and the system automatically creates backups going back a couple of months, or in this case here to the 27th of September. So these are snapshots of what files were on your website at that particular time. And to restore, you can just click on any one of them. It does take a long time to do this, so if you do plan on restoring something that you've broken, you may, depending on the size of your website, it may take an hour or so just to actually get that backup reloaded. So don't do this if you don't need to do it. Okay. Looking at some of the other stuff here, databases, these are the things that make the modern web work. So we're not going to get into that right now, but this is where all of the data is actually stored for various things like WordPress and other applications you might be running. The domains is basically where you would be managing your domains. So if you had the ability to add on extra domains, you could do that. I don't allow that because obviously that would kind of make my entire business pointless. But if you wanted to create a subdomain of your website, you could do that by clicking in here. So I'll just do that very quickly to show you. So if I wanted to create a duplicate of my website and do some testing on it, I would create it over here. So let's just make a subdomain called testing, and it'll be domains would be the main domain that I would have. So this is what it would look like: testing.simplestores.co.za. Click on create, and the system, once it's created the subdomain, it's very slow today. I'm hoping my fiber is not dying on me. It now goes and creates that subdomain. There we go. Testing subdomain has been created. Go back and you'll see there it is. Now if I go here, this is an entirely different domain that I can now actually use. So there's nothing actually configured there at the moment, but basically it is resolving. So this is now a system page. If I was to install WordPress on that subdomain, it would resolve and you'd see a different WordPress to the one that I have on the other, or in the main website. So I'm going to close that for now, and I will leave that domain there, or that subdomain. And let's just go through a few of the other things that you can do with Control Panel. So what Control Panel will also allow you to do is install different software very easily. So for instance, if you want to install WordPress, you go down here to Softaculous Apps Installer, and you'll see that there's a whole lot of different web applications you can install, WordPress being the most common one. If you wanted to install a forum, you've got SMF, which is Simple Machines Forum. WHMCS is the billing software that I use. This, I don't know why this is in Softaculous, because it's actually paid software. It costs me around about $20 a month just to have that software, but it's imperative that I have it. Then Open Real Estate, my blah, blah, blah. There's a whole ton of different things that you can do, and there's obviously different categories of stuff that you can put in here too. So if you wanted to look at an alternative e-commerce option, these are the ones that are available, and you can literally click or install these with a couple of clicks and they will work just fine. Once you're in Softaculous, to get back to Control Panel, you just look for the cPanel logo and click on that, and it'll take you right back to where you need it to be. Now, let's just say that you are running out of disk space on your hosting account with me or with your host. Now, on the right-hand side, you'll see here there's an option for statistics. Well, there's a place for statistics, and one of these is disk usage, and it'll tell you how much of your disk space you've actually used. In this case, we've only used 12.21%, but assuming I was somewhere over there, like 95% or what have you, and I wanted to find out what was using all that disk space, all I have to do is click on this disk usage link, and it brings up this beautiful little screen here, and I can now scroll down to the bottom, and you'll see that I have a list of links over here showing me what's using what. So if I sort that directory or sort these directories by disk usage, I will see where my disk is actually being used. And what normally happens with folks that are hosting their websites for the first time is that they set up their email addresses, and they set them up in such a way that the email is being stored on the server constantly. So your website is competing with your email storage, and eventually that gig that you've bought for a year is going to get used up really quickly, especially if you're sending a lot of big attachments on your email. So it's probably advisable to either move to a professional email service, which is another video I'll make in the future, or if you don't have the budget for that right now, the ideal thing to do would be to set up your email as a POP email, which is the other way of doing it. So with a POP email, the email is stored on your physical device and not on the server. The downside of that, obviously, is that once you do that, that device has got all of your email on it, and you can't access that email from anywhere else. So that's the beauty of having a professional IMAP email service. It lets you access your email from any device through the login, stores it in the cloud, and it gives you a lot more space. But as I say, that's a video for another time. So for here now, if I look back at the screen, I can see that public._html is where all my files are being stored, and in WP content I'm using 70 megabytes, and that 70 megabytes is further broken down into plugins, themes, and uploads. So plugins are using a fair amount of disk space over here. And that's really all there is to it. So if I needed to free up disk space, I would be able to use this as a guide to show me what I needed to do, well, what I should be deleting and what's actually using up the disk space. You can, of course, upgrade your disk space, but that comes at a cost. Right, and I think that's about all I really wanted to go through on the cPanel for now. So if you have any questions, just leave them in the comments of this video. Alternatively, you can email me or message me, go to my website, you'll pick up the details there. I will put those in the link as well. So until next time, take care.